righty. Hello, everyone. We're starting our next session. I'm super excited to welcome Natalia Kimlickova, who will be talking about product and lifecycle marketing, how to build finally a unified customer journey, which is something most companies don't do, and they kind of stop as soon as someone converts into a customer. We'll still wait a few seconds for the participants to join us. In the meantime, let me introduce myself. I'm the VP of Marketing here at Userpilot. And for those of you who don't know Userpilot, Userpilot is an AI-powered product growth platform, which enables product, customer success, product marketing teams to improve the user experience within their product without code, by building in-app engagement experiences, user onboarding flows, by combining it all with smart product analytics and user feedback, by leveraging session replays to learn more about their users, and all of this on both desktop and mobile. And now we also have our smart AI agent, Leah, who's going to be building these product stores, user onboarding flows, and analytics dashboards for you without you having to lift a finger. You just give them instructions and Leah builds it for you. Natalia has been a long-time user of Userpilot in her previous company, actually. That's how we first met. And then fast forward 5 years, and Natalia was looking for another position, reached out to me, and we instantly hit it off. Natalia is a great product marketer who's currently leading our product marketing function at Userpilot. So I'm super excited to have you here and to talk about building lifecycle marketing program. Natalia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Amelia. Thank you so much for pronouncing my surname so well. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining my Product Drive talk. So let's get started. I want to talk about something a lot of companies deal with, and that is creating a truly unified customer journey after the users sign up. We're going to talk about using product signals to guide users from activation to advocacy and aligning closely with other teams in the process. So let's dive straight in, and I would like to kick off by talking about the pains of the disconnected journey. So, one second. Here we go. No. Here we go. All right. So when I think of disconnected user journey, I imagine an orchestra concert, but instead of listening to really nice one piece of music, every musician plays their own favorite song. They are all individually extremely talented, but together it's just a noise. So think about it when marketing is overwhelming you with irrelevant emails, product pushes, in-app pop-ups, messages that are absolutely disconnected with the emails, and they are overwhelming the users in the app. And on top of that, you have sales that uses generic scripts that are not looking at the product signals and compete with all the other communications that is going out to the users. So by not having the right alignment and product signals, the communications become very generic, we are reactive and miss a lot of growth opportunities. And with this often happens that the team measure results in silos as well. So very often with vanity metrics like CTR here, NPS there, nothing is really connected to product impact and our overall business KPIs. What is the result? Well, the result is that users tune out, trust erodes, and they will eventually walk away from our performance. The data actually backs this up, with 62% of consumers saying that a brand will lose their loyalty if the experience isn't personalized. And over a half of customers say it constantly feels like they are talking to separate departments, not one company. So on the bright side, companies that manage to align the communications see more growth and more profitability. So now we have defined the problem. What can we do about it? I'm going to walk you through 6 steps to help you get the alignment across teams and build a unified customer journey. So let's get started. Point number 1, customer experience is a team game. The unified journey is never up to one person or team like product marketing or lifecycle marketer. customer experience in the product actually comes down to the three main interconnected elements. That's product and UI design patterns, contextual content, and communication. The product itself is the stage. So think about design patterns that guide users, remove friction, and set a tone for the user experience. Then you have the content, which is the narrative that helps customers understand the why and how, giving meaning to the product capabilities. And then the communication is the dialogue, nudging users at the right time with the right channel. Now, the big question is, how do we align these three elements across the user journey so every team plays their part at the exactly right time? So step number 2 is strategy. One of the biggest mistakes I see companies making, and I've been guilty of it myself plenty of times, is jumping straight to tactics before anchoring on a strategy. We want to deliver so much so quickly that we forgot why we are doing that. Lifecycle marketing isn't about random campaigns. It's about deliberately moving users from one stage to the next one, so moving them from activation to advocacy, while aligning those three elements to move users forwards based on their actual product behavior. In the ideal world, we should have strategy set up for each stage, but there is always one that needs our immediate focus. So we need to first take a step back and decide what is important for us at this stage. For instance, if activation rates are low, well, that becomes our first strategic priority. Or if this quarter we really need to push for upgrades, then we need to focus on expansion. We also need to define what success actually looks like at each of these stages and recognize that metrics can differ by persona. So think about it. Activation means something very different for, I don't know, admin persona versus an invited user, or for an enterprise client versus a small business trial user. And lastly, we need to identify specific KPIs for the stage. So where do we want to move the metric to? Once we agree on all of this, then we can align with the teams on tactics to guide users from point A to point B. I would like to share with you a real-life example from my time at previous company. It was a SaaS social media management tool. And when I started there as a product marketer, we had a huge issue with activation that became very clear. We need to fix this immediately. So we had that stage that was critical for us. The next step would be to find out what that activation actually meant for us, right? So through both qualitative and quantitative research, we identified the key actions users had to perform during initial sessions to increase the likelihood of conversion to paid customer. We were very quickly able to identify the setup moments. So those were the connect profile, invite a team member, and create the first post. These setup moments set up the stage for the aha moments. So allow the users to experience the actual value of our product. Now, to make sure that they will be actually doing these actions that we want them to complete, we implemented what we call product and conversational bumpers. Those are exactly those three elements that we talked about. So product bumpers were those design patterns guiding users to key actions, like, for example, welcome models, checklists, including those activation points, or subtle nudges that triggered at the right time to the right user and were pointing them to the right space in the UX. Then the conversational bumpers were highly personalized emails that were triggered by user actions, including video tutorials and knowledge hub articles. So that is exactly that content I talked about. And we mixed that with obviously a good customer success support that we introduced across the communication. And that made the interactions feel much more human. So what were the results? Thanks to implementing these bumpers, we are very quickly able to see an uplift in activation by almost 20%. First, we applied the product bumpers. Those alone, I think, gave us 12% uplift in 2 months. And then the rest was also the conversational bumpers. Now, coming to the point 3, we talked about what customer experience consists of, why the strategy matters. Now, how to align every team around that strategy. That's where mapping comes in. Creating a simple journey map that gives us a shared view of what our users experiencing, what signals they are giving us, and how each team should respond. So I created an example in a mirror that I'm going to share with you. I hope you all see it. Emilia, give me a nod that you see it. Okay. So here we have all the stages of user journey. And now for each journey, you want to identify these things, the milestone. So what do we want to achieve for that stage? What does the milestone also look for the user? So exactly, for example, for activation, what are the activation points? And what is the role? So what role are we creating the map for? As I said, the user journey may look very different based on use case or role. So I really advise you to create as many maps, as many use cases or roles you have. Then we have the signals. So signals show us the progress or friction on the user journey and the activities we need to create in order to move them forward. So for example, if we look at it, we know that on a day one, the user is getting welcome model and checklist for product team and a welcome email from marketing and content team. I also like to add either links or actual screenshots of how these look like, so every single team knows what is being communicated. After that, you sit back and you basically look at the behavior of the user. Are they actually completing the steps that we want them to complete? If yes, amazing, we move them forward. If no, this is where we nudge them further to complete those actions, again with the product and content bumpers. At some point, we would also definitely want to flag the actions that indicate PQL for sales, for example, or times where the support should step in. So thanks to this, each team knows exactly what is their responsibility in moving the user forward and how other teams and colleagues are supporting their activities. Underneath each stage, I also like to list all the teams and their activities they are responsible for. Again, I would also connect that with the links to the content. So for example, if a content team has created onboarding blogs or webinars, we link them here so they are easily accessible and everyone knows what is being communicated to this customer at this stage. So coming back to our presentation, even though I talked a lot about the shared responsibility, I strongly believe only one team or role should own the map. So this is exactly where the role of product marketer, growth, lifecycle marketer comes in place. They should be in charge of setting up, maintaining, tracking the performance of the key metrics. And at the same time, we need to establish very clear internal workflows and approval processes and align those across the teams. So great tip is, for example, to create customer experience team, which is going to be consisting of one person for each team that is going to be responsible for the activities for their team, tracking the performance. And we should hold regular meetings with this team. So this session should help us align on the strategy, share knowledge, define next steps, making sure everyone is coordinated and moving the KPI forward. A lot of companies and marketers stop at activation. So once users purchase the product, there is often a big silence. And they leave renewals and upsells entirely to customer support or sales, but that is a huge missed opportunity. Our responsibility is to help users build habits around using our product and constantly reminding them of the value it provides. If we fail to do so, well, there is a big chance they won't renew their contract, right? So one way to do this is through secondary onboarding, for example. So tailored to their use cases and their features they are actively using. So this is really the time when you should look into the data and their product behavior and see what features are they interested in and what features we should push them to discover next. So for example, if user creates multiple content, they will be interested in bulk actions. And we can softly nudge them to that feature. So for example, as here, we have just like a very subtle pausing hotspot that is nudging them to that part of the UX, to that feature. We can also at this point, use gamifying the experience with different milestones, badges, basically rewarding for experiencing other parts of our product, and rewarding our users for creating habits of using our platform. At the same time, super important to spot inactive users early and re-engage them before they churn. So as soon as you see that the users are slipping away, you're trying to re-engage them with, emails, push-up notifications if you have that availability, and even through like traditional marketing channels, like for example, LinkedIn ads or Google display ads. Actually, in Userpilot, we run customer campaigns on LinkedIn, promoting our new feature, but also inviting users to our webinars. And we can very quickly check which customers are interested in which products or webinars, pass the data to our CRM system, so every other team can work with that information as well. Now, this all gives us the right signals for the expansion stage. So at this stage, really want to determine our upgrade levers. That means using behavioral data to identify opportunities to upsell or cross-sell the right products to the right company. So for example, using data like users are hitting limits of their plan, or active users of one product could benefit from another as well. So for example, here we have an example where users are using the NPS score, but they haven't used our service. That is definitely a feature that they could be interested in. And then we can also use account level data and external signals to drive expansion. So we look at each account, what actually each account uses in the product, push the data into CRM, and layer on additional signals that we can get from Clay, for example, like funding, acquisition, or product launches. Now think, if your customer relies heavily on dashboards, let's say, in your product, and they've just hired a whole another team, that is a clear cue to pitch additional seats and, for example, an advanced reporting add-on. So usage plus external signals make expansion opportunities very obvious. And lastly, we want to identify our champions. So those customers who love our product and are willing to advocate for it. Now, our role is to amplify their voice. So nudging them to, for example, give us a GT review right after they give us NPS score of 10, or inviting them to a case study. So turning happy users into powerful promoters of your product. And I'm coming to my last step, which is the last piece of puzzle, having the right tools for lifecycle product marketing. Because even the best strategy will fall flat if you can't execute, measure, or automate it properly. The right tools don't just make work easier, they make strategy scalable. So you need the tools that will help you to, obviously, know your users. So see who they are, what they do in your product, where are they getting stuck. And then they allow you to act on those behaviors instantly with real-time triggers and segmentation. And one very important point for me, for example, is to give you the space to act independently. So you want to be really able to launch campaigns and messages without relying on getting the right data from RevOps or Dev team. Second is avoid fragmentation. So multiple tools create silos and inconsistent messaging. Look for platforms that allow you to create multi-channel engagement, and that will allow you to streamline data management, align teams, and your community strategy. Plus, will reduce that stack complexity and associated costs. Connected to that, I would like to also look for tools that offer visual workflows. These orchestration features will help you map out user journeys and apply those advanced triggers and conditions, plus timing and frequency. So you make sure that you're delivering the right messages based on real-time product signals with a frequency that is not overwhelming. And I'm actually very excited to say that just yesterday we announced both the multi-engagement, adding email to our in-app and mobile capabilities, and as well our upcoming workflows feature. So definitely check it out. And then moving on to user feedback. So you definitely want to have tools that will allow you to also get the understanding of what is happening behind the data and get the 360 view of user behavior with NPS surveys and session replays. Those allow you to see exactly how users interact with your product, and you can identify friction points very easily. We also talked a lot about integrating all this data into your CRM. So integrate natively with HubSpot, Salesforce, or other platforms in order to have unified customer view and enable cross-team alignment. And the last point is, obviously, we are in an era of AI. So look for tools that will help you automate product lifecycle marketing. Yesterday, we as well announced our product growth agent, Leah, that Emilia already talked about. Leah will help you automatically identify friction and anomalies in your data, create personalized in-app flows, and summarize feedback report findings for you. So more info about Leah is going to be accessible on our website very soon, and you can also join the waitlist there. To wrap it all up, creating a unified customer journey is a lot like conducting an orchestra. Every department plays a different instrument, but when we are aligned around the same score, we create beautiful harmony. And when the experience feels harmonious, the audience stays, engages, and grows with us. So here are the key things to remember. First, Lifecycle is a team game. Every single department has a part to play in guiding the users. Second, always align on strategy before tactics. Know your milestones and desired outcomes for each stage before you launch anything. Third, decide on your drivers. What are the specific actions that will move our users from point A to point B? And then map it all out. Make the journey visible for everyone showing the milestones, signals, and team responsibilities. And then do not stop at conversion, please. Keep focusing on adoption, retention, expansion, advocacy, because that's where long-term growth lives. And lastly, use the right tools. Tools that bring data, segmentation, multi-channel engagement, and analytics together make the orchestration possible without friction. So great customer experience doesn't happen by chance. They happen by design, by alignment, and by the right tools. So thank you so much for your attention. That's it from me. And I hope, this helps you to orchestrate your own harmonious customer journey.
Thank you so much, Natalia. This was a brilliant presentation, and I'm loving your sense of humor here with the orchestra analogy. I'm going to be using that image from you to still, promote this talk after we finished. Questions from the audience. I see we're still waiting for questions from the audience, which is somewhat surprising because I noted down a bunch of questions I wanted to ask you based on this presentation. First of all, you were talking about engaging users at later lifecycle stages. So what we initially discussed, that a lot of companies just stop at the initial conversion rate, maybe then try to push people towards activation. But once the users have adopted the basic features, they are like, oh, now our job is finished. Let's move on to the next batch of new users. Secondary onboarding, you brought that up in your presentation. What do you think are the UI patterns that work best for secondary onboarding?
I would say with secondary onboarding, we need to be very much more intuitive and go into that product signal. So we do not want to go with like a big product tours. Again, we do not want to really disrupt their actual, working time in our product. We want to be able to push those subtle nudges at the right moment, at the right time. So exactly those things, as I said, if I see that users are manually duplicating something and we have a bulk actions feature, this is exactly the right moment to nudge them to that feature when we see that they are doing that mistake. So exactly taking these product signals, putting them together and nudge them at the right time when we have a huge confidence that the user will actually use that feature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, it has to be contextual and it has to be
Exactly.
relevant because otherwise it gets annoying when the user already is going on about their business in the product and they don't expect you to give them this like hand holding. But there are still probably, as you said, some mistakes they are making, some inefficiencies that we can fix for them. Can you
Yeah.
think
If
of
you
any?
think about, I just thought about it because I saw it today. I was, for example, Slack. Slack does it perfectly.
That was my
And
next question. You're reading my mind.
what are
Yeah.
the goals? Yeah, yeah. I just saw it today and I thought about it instantly. I was just sending some message and just Slack pop out like, oh, you can do it this way, not this way. And I was like, oh, that's really actually a great idea. So this was exactly that moment that I was about to do an action and there was a better way of doing that.
Yeah, 100%. So this next question that I wanted to ask was, do you have any examples of, companies that do this secondary onboarding well? Slack is one, or, like maybe lifecycle marketing in general. The problem is when people ask me this question,
Mm.
oftentimes I can't think of a lot of examples. So
Notion is another one.
Notion.
Notion is
Mm-hmm.
definitely a great one, but they are very well known for this life cycle growth marketing. That is also another thing that you really need to have a time or a team dedicated that's gonna take over these initiatives. Sometimes I feel like they're like a second thought for everyone. Like it's a nice thing to have until we're gonna give it a priority, and very oftentimes the priority never comes.
Will Leah help with that?
Well, Leah will do. Yeah, exactly. Leah will give you exactly those product signals and creating those in flows for you. So you literally won't have to do that manual work.
Yeah, because I think, the problem is also like tagging these events to understand when the user is going about a certain process in an ineffective or inefficient way, like you did with Slack, for instance, and pushing that contextual prompt at the exactly right time. This is, what a lot of people struggle with because the user journey map has to be so detailed and so meticulous, and you need to understand both the happy paths and the unhappy paths.
Exactly.
So that's where AI agents really will come into play because they will have the 300 years of experience with your product that you would never have, and all the time to build such micro delightful experiences.
And on
Um,
top of that, they will be able to measure the impact. So that is another thing, right? You need to constantly track, optimize, A/B test those experiences. So that is also something that I see AI helping us to do a lot.
We have a few more questions coming from the audience. What role can AI play when it comes to increasing adoption? That's kind of dovetails with our conversation so far.
So, for example, our AI will be able to play your playbooks. So these are exactly playbooks that you can set up for I want to improve an adoption. You can then feed it with an exact, data context. I want to improve adoption of feature or just improve an overall adoption. And this AI will be able to run those playbooks for you. So look at the anomalies in the data at the same time as get summaries from your feedback and for session replays and run those experiences for you. So it's gonna give you the insights, build a solution, then you can approve it or edit the solution, and then it's going to optimize it and give you basically that final metric whether we move to the adoption or not. So this is
Mm.
definitely somewhere where AI is gonna do so much job for us.
Yeah, we're going to see a massive shift in product experience in the next 2 years, I believe, thanks to this.
Plus,
That's
I would say also with helping us to find the right segments, find the right features and tags. I see a lot of times with especially marketers, product marketers, we tend to, have issues a little bit with finding the right data. We are not very confident with the data, product data side,
no.
as well as, is this the right segment? Is this the right feature tag that I want to use? You can just now ask the AI.
No, I don't think it's possible. Honestly, I think it's a philosophical problem rather than a practical one, because there's so much data and there are so many possible user paths and so many different scenarios that users can take, especially the more complex your product, that this multiplies by a magnitude of, however many features you have. And it's the same with marketing with, for instance, BDR teams, right? That are supposed to be reaching out to inbound accounts and personalizing their messaging based on what happened in the account. And we have 367 properties that determine what could be the signal and what could be personalized. It's the same way inside the product that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of these events happening in different order for different user personas, and it's just impossible to do it manually and keep track and create so many meaningful segments so that their experience is really truly helpful and personalized.
Exactly, exactly. We have sometimes way too much things set up. We don't know which one is the right one, which one is a historical event that we don't use anymore.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leopold has question on that note. What are the rookie mistakes you see in journey mapping?
In journey mapping, the mistakes in journey mapping, I would say first overcomplicating things.
Mm,
Exactly as you said, we're going now, like, okay, we're now going to create this journey map and we go absolutely crazy.
mm,
So keep it simple, keep it achievable, and start small. You don't have to have all the content and all the communication set up. Start with small things. Start with one product bumper, one email, and build on that, because otherwise it's just gonna be over your head and everyone will lose that motivation to follow that. Also, when you start small, you can very easily test what's working, what's not, and go from there. So we really do not have to have everything set up and all the journey set up from day one. You can start very small. Yeah, you can start very small.
mm. So yeah, an MVP, minimum
MVP,
user
exactly. MVP. You know,
MUJ.
we do not have to now create this whole project that, will contain every single team to create the hundreds of blogs and webinars and
Hmm.
training sessions.
Naomi has a question. In a large and complex org, who should be the owner for the user journey map and one
That
and
is a
why?
good question.
Mm-hmm.
I have never ever worked in a very, very big, large enterprise company. Um, from my point of view, product marketers, growth marketers, if you have lifecycle marketers, are really good personas to own that, or teams, whole teams. So if, for example, product marketing is also focusing on the PLG and working with the leads after they sign up, I think this is a great, great role where they can bring so much alignment together, because the role of product marketing is bringing the alignment across different teams. So I think product marketing or growth marketer is a really good role to own this.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, not many organizations actually, it will be these more mature, larger organizations that have a product marketing function, but it is necessary to, as you said, connect the dots and do the things that neither product nor marketing have either the bandwidth or expertise to do. So this is where I feel like, user journey mapping, product experience falls through the cracks because the product team is busy building, shipping, fixing the existing product, while the marketing team is busy with acquisition. And these two job functions will naturally take the priority for product and marketing. That's why we need the connecting link, product marketing, to own
Exactly. And I
product and user
highly,
journey.
highly
Mm.
believe this is going to be something that the product marketing role is going to be evolving in the future. We're going to move further from just purely, sales enablement and creating nice docs, competitive intelligence, into being more hand-on with the analytics and aligning these product journeys.
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking at our next questions. Am I correct, Alejandro? Am I correct to think that implementing these kind of customer journeys comes after the first X clients, let's say 50 to 100 in my case? I feel I should first simulate these journeys manually where I can be very dynamic per client until I find the patterns that can automate it with tools. So basically, like, how many repetitions do you need to figure out what is the actual user journey for your company?
Again, start small. Start with as I say, start with the stage that is more critical for you, whether it's activation or, that is the adoption. Activation is fine for you, but you have an issue to retain your users. Start there and go specific on persona. So let's say your main persona are, for example, the admins. So we're gonna try to focus on the admin persona for that one stage and discover what are the most important actions for them to take to adopt your product. So I would definitely go into the data. You can use great things like path reports that exactly show you how are the users moving in your product, or correlation analysis, which showing you, okay, if the user is using this product features, there is a big chance they're going to renew our contract. And then also do product interviews, user interviews. That is still a big one. Don't just look at the data. Definitely talk to these customers, find out what is important for them, very quickly. Also do some in-app surveys, or you can watch the session replays. That is something that to me helped a lot, because I thought, for example, like, this is for sure that this is gonna be the activation point for this persona. And then I go to see their first session after they sign up to our product, and it's something completely different. So this gives you also the context into what is happening for that user, and it's great to see. So definitely using all these activities that you can do to create the research.
Yeah, so the research can be qualitative at first before you jump into quantitative data analysis. And we have one last question that we can handle today. The rest, please reach out to Natalia on LinkedIn. Is there a good number, that's a quantitative question, of in-app events we should look at? It probably depends, right?
It really, really depends. I don't think there is a number of in-app events to look at. When it comes to the activation, for example, we do not want to go over the top. Let's start with very simple activation points, so 2 to 3. I wouldn't go over that as a setup moments, for example, during the activation. But the in-app events that we are looking at, that it really depends on your product, on your use case and persona, I would say.
Yeah, because events have to have a meaning, right? You don't want to
Exactly.
just look at all the auto capture events. Like, for instance, Userpilot captures all events automatically, but then you can go and label the events that are meaningful for you and only track those, because otherwise you end up with this like massive event salad. You don't know what to look at.
But
So
yeah,
yeah, it's about
it's
knowing what actions the users need to take, right?
but it's
Mm.
definitely advised, for example, for the activation to not have more than 2 or 3.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, activation has to be
So
an
there,
event itself. Although we had a very interesting conversation with our previous speaker about like the 50 shades of activation, that in some organizations it can be also like about the account penetration. So how many users in the organization have adopted, the specific feature, and then how often are they using it? So frequency, rather than just a one-off,
oh
event
yeah,
happening as an
oh
activation
yeah.
proxy. Yeah, so we could
Yeah, this
be,
is something we
yeah.
didn't talk about. The frequency is really, really important because, for example, an admin role, they can come into your product on a monthly basis to just check something, while when they invited a user that is, for example, the creator of the content, they have the weekly, for example, activation in your product.
Yeah,
You
totally,
should defer
totally.
that, those
So
personas, yeah, on frequency as well.
that's a good
Also,
point.
Kate Suma has today a very good talk on 6 points on holistic onboarding. I'm sure that is going to be really, really interesting. I'm gonna make sure to be there as well.
Brilliant. We'll see each
Definitely.
other there then. And everyone watching us, thank you so much for joining us today and the insightful conversation. We need to jump because we have another session with Maya Voye on the GTM for AI agents starting in 5 minutes. So I need to quickly run to the other room. Thank you so much, Natalia. This was super insightful, and I will see you in the next session.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.